Good morning, Avery. Today is Tuesday, May 6th, and today I'm going to talk about something that I don't really want to talk about, but I think I should talk about. NJCON. Now, the whole Jensen debacle at NJCON was something that I really wanted to forget about and never mention again. But I woke up this morning and realized, you know what? This is something that I think needs to be addressed, and I think I'm going to address it in my video today. So, on Sunday, Jared and Jensen were at their panel for NJCON, and first question. A young woman begins by saying to Jensen, "I love your character Dean being more accepting of himself in this season. I'm bisexual and I've noticed some possible subtext." And at this point in her question, the entire crowd erupts into boos and jeers, and the girl cannot finish her question. After a moment, Jensen responds, "Really? The first question? The first question? You notice I'm not happy being on the East Coast. Don't ruin it for everyone now." Now, it's unclear whether Jensen is talking to the girl or to the audience, but we can tell that Jensen's uncomfortable with the situation, and it's kind of awkward. The girl proceeds to say, "I did not mean to be disrespectful at all. I..." cut off. And Jensen says, "I still don't know what the question is. Let's move on." Seemingly small interaction resulted in the entire internet blowing up yesterday. Some people were angry that the girl brought up bisexuality in front of Jensen. Some people were angry at the booing crowd. Some people were angry about the way Jensen handled the situation. And some people were angry that people were angry at Jensen. So basically, there was just a lot of anger yesterday. But there was also a lot of sadness. I was angry at first when I heard about what happened, but then I was just really, really sad. I was sad that Jensen was so dismissive about the subject. I was sad that the fandom thinks that we need to keep our opinions about Dean's bisexuality in the closet in order to protect the actors and make them more comfortable. And I was sad that the way things went down yesterday made it seem like DCL was never going to be canon. Now, before you start thinking, "OMG, I can't believe you're making this about DCL," I want to say, yes, this is about DCL, but it's not just about DCL. It's about queer representation and the high hopes that I had of us finally getting a bisexual ghost hunter on my TV screen who isn't defined by his sexuality. Because you know what? I thought I was finally going to have this happen. DCL was no longer something that was just happening in fanfic. There were these huge things happening in Season 8 that made it seem like DCL was a legitimate thing. There were so many examples. Purgatory flashbacks. Dean's reaction when he sees Cass all cleaned up. Dean's reaction when Aaron flirts with him in the bar. Which apparently is the question the girl at the con was going to ask. She was going to ask Jensen what was going through Dean's head at this moment. And that is the one question I would ask Jensen if I could meet him. So I was so mad when I figured out that this was her question and she wasn't allowed to ask it. But back to Season 8. The thing that made me most think that DCL was going to be canon this season were all the human, non-human romantic relationship parallels throughout this season. Now, we have an immortal god, Brick Holmes, who falls in love with a mortal woman in Episode 3. We have Charlie and the hot fairy in Episode 11. We have James and his familiar Portia in Episode 15. And we have Prometheus and his mortal wife, Haley, in Episode 16. Now, it's just not me who's getting these parallels. People who don't even know what shipping is are starting to question whether Dean and Cass's relationship is a little more than platonic. My best friend Natalie texted me a few days ago saying, "Are Dean and Cass together?" And she has no clue what the shipping world is. Dean, the mortal human, Cass, the immortal angel. These parallels were finally becoming real. Or so I thought. Then at the NJCON panel on Sunday, it seemed like this whole season had just been one huge queer-baiting joke. Jensen, a huge part of the show, expressed exasperation and what seemed like anger at the mention of bisexuality. And that got me thinking. If he can't stand it, then why in the world do we think the writers will write it? This isn't just me being salty about DCL never being canon. As you said last night, Avery, it feels personal. The hurt is personal. I thought we were so close to getting some badass representation on our favorite show. Even if DCL wasn't canon, I thought at least bisexual Dean would be canon this season. But I guess not. I really hope that a year from now I'll look back at this video and be like, oh Amy, you were so silly back then. DCL did become canon, and they did it in a tasteful and beautiful way. And they're the happiest couple in the world right now. I really want that to happen. I don't want to be right. But honestly, I just don't know right now, Avery. I don't know. See you next week.